The British monarchy has just been violently shaken to its very foundations by an absolute tactical ambush executed in total secrecy. What transpired behind the heavily fortified stone walls of Balmoral Castle last week was not a minor domestic disagreement. It was a full-scale institutional execution that has completely dismantled the power dynamics of the royal court forever. At the absolute center of this terrifying historic shift is an innocent child. Young Prince Louis, who was subjected to an emotional attack so calculated, so unhinged, and so deliberately cruel that veteran palace staff members were left completely paralyzed in sheer horror. But the true shockwave didn't occur during that devastating confrontation. It exploded the very next morning, when Prince William completely bypassed the reigning King of England to unleash a cold, systematic retaliation that insiders are calling the absolute end of the blended monarchy. A single decree, drafted in absolute isolation, has officially stripped Queen Camilla's entire extended family of their titles, their status, and their very existence within the royal fold. The machinery of Kensington Palace has moved with terrifying corporate precision, leaving Queen Camilla completely blindsided and furious. But what did Camilla's family actually say to Prince Louis that broke his spirit completely? And what terrifying secret did Princess Catherine leverage in the dark to force her husband to launch this unprecedented war? Stay tuned, because the answers will utterly shatter everything you thought you knew about the royal family. To truly comprehend the sheer magnitude of the warfare currently tearing Buckingham Palace apart, we must pull back the heavy velvet curtains and look at the toxic, simmering undercurrents that have been building between the House of Windsor and the Parker Bowles faction for nearly 3 decades. This explosive explosion of hidden rage was never a matter of if. It was always a matter of when. For years, the general public has been fed a carefully manufactured fairy tale of a harmonious, modern, blended royal family. We saw the polished balcony appearances, the synchronized smiles at Christmas walkabouts, and the staged photographs meant to signal absolute unity. But behind those heavily guarded oak doors, a fierce, subterranean battle for ultimate legacy, territorial dominance, and institutional survival was actively raging. The roots of this bitter dynastic divide trace directly back to the darkest, most traumatic chapter of Prince William's adolescent life. The agonizing public disintegration of his parents' marriage and the catastrophic loss of his mother, Princess Diana. For William, the presence of Queen Camilla within the royal ecosystem has never been something he fully or comfortably digested. It was a bitter pill swallowed entirely for the sake of his father's happiness and the stability of the crown. He watched from the sidelines as a massive, multi-million-pound public relations machinery spent decades slowly, meticulously scrubbing and rewriting the narrative of Camilla Parker Bowles, transforming her image from the world's most scrutinized mistress into the crowned queen consort of the United Kingdom. However, the real friction didn't stop with Camilla's personal ascension. The true, unvarnished crisis began when a quiet, aggressive campaign was launched from within the Queen's camp to slowly elevate her own biological family. Over the past several years, leaked memos and hushed whispers from deep within the palace corridors revealed a highly strategic push to integrate Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez, along with their respective offspring, into the highly exclusive inner sanctum of the working monarchy. It started with minor, almost imperceptible shifts, an invitation to an intimate family gathering here, a prominent seating arrangement at a royal wedding there. But gradually, the boundaries began to blur in a way that deeply alarmed traditional courtiers, and, most importantly, the Prince and Princess of Wales. Visibility within the British monarchy is the ultimate currency. It is synonymous with legitimacy, power, and state-sanctioned status. When Camilla's grandchildren were given highly prominent, historic roles at the king's coronation, standing directly alongside the blood descendants of the throne, an invisible but highly dangerous line was officially crossed. To the outer world, it was framed as a beautiful gesture of a modern, inclusive family. But to those deep within Kensington Palace, it was viewed as a calculated infiltration. Insiders reported that senior aides to Prince William grew deeply uncomfortable with how the Parker Bowles family was slowly capitalizing on this newfound proximity to the crown. Whispers of lucrative book deals, high-profile media appearances, and elite social positioning began to circulate, creating a toxic atmosphere of immense distrust. Prince William and Princess Catherine have spent the last decade building a flawless, impenetrable fortress around their 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. Having experienced the profound psychological trauma of a highly unstable, emotionally volatile royal childhood himself, William made a solemn, non-negotiable vow to the universe. His children would grow up shielded from the ruthless psychological warfare that defined his own youth. They were raised with emotional intelligence, fierce protection, and absolute stability. But as the Parker Bowles faction grew more confident and more embedded within the royal holiday retreats, like Sandringham and Balmoral, the friction between the biological bloodline and the Step family reached an absolute fever pitch. The tension was further exacerbated by the shifting center of gravity within the institution itself. With King Charles facing immense recent health struggles and carrying the profound fatigue of a lifetime spent waiting for the throne, the practical execution of royal power has quietly but undeniably shifted toward the Prince and Princess of Wales. They are the undisputed stars of the global stage, holding the absolute affection of the public. This massive disparity in popularity created a deeply paranoid environment. Highly reliable insider leaks suggest that certain factions within Camilla's circle felt increasingly eclipsed, leading to whispered resentments and bitter, passive-aggressive encounters behind the scenes during private family retreats. The stage was set, the characters were deeply resentful, and the atmosphere was thick with decades of unresolved historical trauma. The blended family model was nothing more than a fragile glass house built on a volatile fault line of deep-seated anger, ancient betrayals, and ruthless ambition. All it required was one single, devastating spark to cause the entire structure to shatter into a million jagged pieces. And last week, in the isolated, chilly isolation of the Scottish Highlands at Balmoral, that exact spark was struck with malicious, calculated intent, igniting a historical firestorm that has changed the face of the British monarchy forever. The fragile peace at Balmoral Castle didn't just crack last week. It was violently obliterated in a single afternoon of unmitigated cruelty. It happened in the late afternoon, deep within the isolated, private gardens of the Scottish estate, a place historically reserved for royal tranquility and family escape. Prince Louis, the youngest and most emotionally expressive of the Wales children, was playing near the old stone courtyard, completely unaware that he was being watched. According to shocking, highly restricted leaks from staff members who were stationed near the West Wing, a granddaughter of Queen Camilla approached the young prince. What began as a seemingly casual interaction rapidly devolved into a calculated, venomous verbal ambush that left eyewitnesses completely frozen in absolute disbelief. The words that were directed at the young prince were not the typical petty teasings of children. They were described by horrified onlookers as surgically precise insults engineered to inflict maximum emotional damage on a sensitive child. According to an explosive, leaked transcript whispered among high-level palace aides, the attacker didn't just mock Louis's playful public persona. They went after his mother, Princess Catherine, making cruel, elitist remarks about her background before turning the psychological knife even deeper. The verbal assault ventured into the darkest, most forbidden territory of royal history, making explicit, mocking comparisons between the intense public scrutiny faced by Catherine and the tragic, haunted downfall of Prince William's late mother, Princess Diana. For an 8-year-old boy, the complex, historical weight of these names might not have been fully understood, but the pure, unadulterated malice behind the words was instantly recognizable. Prince Louis was reported to have collapsed into a state of total, hysterical distress. His little body shook with violent sobs as he fled the courtyard, running blindly back into the residence to find his mother. The raw, piercing sound of his cries shattered the absolute silence of the Highlands, leaving the nearby staff in a state of sheer panic. When Louis burst into the private drawing room, hyperventilating and weeping uncontrollably, Princess Catherine was instantly by his side. But what happened next is the exact moment this incident transformed from a domestic crisis into an institutional war. As the young prince sobbed out the horrific details of what had been said to him, Catherine's reaction completely defied human expectation. She did not scream. She did not storm out of the room to confront Camilla or the child's parents. Instead, an unsettling, absolute stillness washed over her. Witnesses who entered the room shortly after described her face as completely frozen, her expression utterly cold and devoid of warmth, possessing an unshakable, terrifying control. One insider stated that the air in the room felt as if it had instantly dropped 10 degrees. It wasn't the absence of anger that was alarming, but the presence of a terrifying, calculating fury that was being systematically locked away behind closed doors. Catherine immediately escorted her children to their private quarters, shielding them from the rest of the household, before summoning Prince William to an urgent, closed-door meeting that insiders are now calling the most critical turning point in modern royal history. For over 2 hours, the couple remained locked away. No staff members were permitted near the corridor, but the absolute tension vibrating through the heavy wooden doors was palpable. Catherine did not approach her husband with simple tears or parental frustration. She approached him with the unyielding gravity of a mother protecting her cubs from an existential threat. In a chillingly direct confrontation, Catherine looked at the future king and laid bare the ultimate, historic failure of the British monarchy, its complete and utter inability to protect Princess Diana from the psychological warfare and emotional starvation that ultimately destroyed her. She made the connection chillingly explicit, telling William in no uncertain terms that history was actively attempting to repeat itself under their own roof. She refused to allow George, Charlotte, and especially Louis to become the next generation of psychological collateral damage in the Parker Bowles family's quest for social dominance. This brings us to the first, utterly shocking twist of this entire saga, a revelation that has left high-level courtiers completely breathless. During this intense, emotionally charged confrontation, Princess Catherine delivered a fierce, non-negotiable ultimatum to Prince William. She made it absolutely clear that if William did not use his immense institutional power to permanently eradicate the toxic presence of the stepfamily from their lives immediately, she would take the children and completely remove herself from the royal spotlight indefinitely. It was an absolute strike to the heart of the monarchy. Catherine was willing to walk away from the crown to save her son, presenting William with a choice that would either solidify his future reign or destroy the House of Windsor forever. Faced with his wife's unyielding determination and the haunting specter of his mother's tragic fate, William's protective instincts crystallized into something terrifyingly permanent. The old royal rulebook was instantly thrown into the fire. The morning after the Balmoral confrontation, the atmosphere inside the royal estate didn't just feel tense, it felt entirely militarized. The standard, polite royal routine was instantly dismantled as Prince William moved into a state of absolute, clinical execution. Senior aides, constitutional advisors, and top-tier legal experts were quietly summoned to an emergency meeting at Kensington Palace via secure, encrypted communication channels. Palace staff reported an unprecedented level of security. Rumors spread like wildfire that personal mobile devices were temporarily confiscated from anyone working near the family quarters to ensure absolute information containment. This was not a prince seeking counsel. This was a future commander delivering an absolute ultimatum to the institution itself. When Prince William walked into the heavily guarded conference room, he carried a dense, black briefing packet that insiders describe as the blueprint for an absolute internal execution. There was no visible anger on his face, no frantic gestures, and no emotional instability. Instead, he possessed a terrifying, absolute calm that unsettled even the most seasoned courtiers in attendance. Without asking for input or opening the floor for discussion, William laid out the exact parameters of what is now legally and historically referred to inside the palace walls as the Eraser Mandate. The mandate was a ruthless, surgical strike designed to permanently and unconditionally wipe Queen Camilla's extended family, the Parker Bowles faction, out of the public and ceremonial life of the British monarchy. Every single avenue of institutional visibility was systematically targeted and terminated. The decree explicitly banned Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez, along with their children, from ever appearing on the Buckingham Palace balcony for major national events, attending official state banquets, or holding any symbolic, honorary positions within the Crown's ecosystem. Their security clearance for royal residences was instantly revoked, and their names were permanently expunged from all future guest lists involving the working monarchy. But then came a second, utterly explosive twist that sent shockwaves traveling straight through the palace foundation. Prince William did not present this mandate to King Charles for royal assent. He completely and deliberately bypassed the reigning monarch. In an unprecedented breach of royal protocol that bordering on a constitutional crisis, William signed the executive orders utilizing his immense autonomous authority as the Prince of Wales and the absolute head of the Duchy of Cornwall. The machinery of Kensington Palace was set into motion before the king was even made aware that a crisis had occurred. The notification to King Charles arrived not through a private father-son phone call, but via a cold, impeccably formal legal dispatch delivered directly to his private secretary. The letter observed every required honorific, yet its content was absolute. The Parker Bowles family had been stripped of all institutional access, effective immediately. The door to negotiation, compromise, or parental appeal had been slammed shut and locked from the inside before the sovereign could even process the gravity of the situation. Within hours of the mandate being quietly enforced, the ironclad containment wall around the palace completely ruptured, leaking the devastating news onto the internet and triggering a global media meltdown. The initial spark came from a series of cryptic, highly alarming tweets from verified royal correspondents. One prominent journalist tweeted, An unprecedented institutional split is currently unfolding between Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace. Sources confirm a high-level decree has been signed that permanently alters the status of the Queen's family. Total panic behind the scenes. Within minutes, the hashtag eraser mandate began trending worldwide, racking up millions of impressions as internet sleuths and royal enthusiasts scrambled to uncover the truth. The digital landscape exploded into absolute chaos when a highly sensitive, leaked email chain, allegedly sent between senior palace communications officers, surfaced on an anonymous whistleblowing platform. The leaked text read, "Emergency protocol activated for the Parker Bowls contingent. All upcoming scheduled appearances for the autumn calendar are to be scrubbed immediately. No public statements are authorized. Rerouting all media inquiries to legal." The revelation sent internet forums into overdrive. On TikTok and X, millions of users analyzed old footage of Prince Louis, pointing out the subtle, chilling signs of tension that had been building between the whale's children and Camilla's grandchildren during past public appearances. The backlash was swift, global, and completely unforgiving. High-profile international news agencies scrambled to break the story, while prominent media personalities took to their platforms to voice their sheer disbelief. The narrative had completely escaped the palace's control, evolving from a whispered family feud into a brutal, public demonstration of raw power. But just as the world began to process the sheer scale of William's ruthless decree, a third, even more terrifying piece of evidence was about to leak across social media. A piece of evidence that would blow the lid off this entire royal conspiracy and force Queen Camilla into a desperate, dangerous counterattack. The moment news of the eraser mandate leaked outside the reinforced walls of the palace, the internet didn't just react, it completely fractured. Within 48 hours, the digital landscape transformed into a ferocious ideological war zone, racking up hundreds of millions of views across global platforms. Royal commentators, industry insiders, and ordinary citizens clashed violently over Prince William's unprecedented, ruthless consolidation of power. On social media platforms like X, TikTok, and Instagram, the engagement metrics shattered every historical record for royal news. On TikTok, thousands of viral video essays began popping up, analyzing every pixel of old footage from past trooping the color ceremonies. Users zoomed in on the body language between Queen Camilla's grandchildren and Prince Louis, pointing out perceived microaggressions, cold stares, and instances of forced proximity that had previously gone unnoticed by the mainstream media. One viral TikTok, which gained over 15 million views in less than 12 hours, laid out a side-by-side comparison of Prince William's unyielding public posture today with archival clips of a fiercely protective Princess Diana shielding her young sons from aggressive photographers in the 90s. The caption read, "The cycle ends now. William is literally fulfilling the promise he made to his mother." Over on X, formerly Twitter, a massive public debate erupted under the top trending hashtags #EraserMandate, #TeamWales, and #StandWithCamilla. The public quickly split into two fiercely defensive camps. The overwhelmingly dominant faction, comprised of passionate Prince William and Princess Catherine supporters, launched an aggressive digital campaign praising the future king's cold, calculated actions. One highly upvoted tweet read, "If someone targets an 8-year-old child and weaponizes the tragic memory of his deceased grandmother, they deserve to be thoroughly and permanently erased. Prince William is a legendary father for this. Absolute king behavior." Another user chimed in, noting the chilling corporate precision of the decree. William completely bypassed the king, enacted a silent coup to protect his son, and left Camilla absolutely powerless. This is the exact kind of steely, unyielding leadership the monarchy needs to survive. However, a deeply vocal opposing faction emerged to defend Queen Camilla and her family, igniting intense comment section warfare. Camilla loyalists and traditional monarchists argued that Prince William's unilateral decision was an absolute, terrifying overreach of authority that actively undermined the king's sovereign power. A prominent royal history enthusiast tweeted a lengthy thread that quickly went viral, stating, "This is a deeply dangerous precedent. Prince William did not consult the reigning monarch. Bypassing King Charles is a direct challenge to the crown's traditional hierarchy. If the heir can simply execute an internal coup and permanently banish step-family members over a private dispute, then the entire structure of the institution is deeply compromised." Camilla's family has been an integral, unifying part of the modern blended monarchy for years, and to cast them out in the dead of night is a shocking display of raw, unrestrained ego. The dramatic fallout quickly spilled over into the mainstream entertainment and media industries, sparking immense controversy among high-profile journalists, talk show hosts, and celebrity commentators. Major network anchors and seasoned palace correspondents were pulled into emergency broadcasting segments to debate the severe operational split between Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace. During a highly charged television debate, a veteran royal biographer argued that the eraser mandate effectively marked the official, premature death of King Charles's heavily championed vision for a large, inclusive, blended royal family. Charles wanted a modern, extended family unit to represent a diverse Britain, the biographer explained. But with one stroke of a pen, William has completely crushed his father's vision, proving that the future reign of King William will be leaner, highly guarded, intensely transactional, and completely unforgiving to anyone who threatens the direct bloodline. Meanwhile, deep within the elite social circles of London and the international media elite, panic began to spread. Public relations firms that had spent years alignment building with the Parker Bowles family were suddenly scrambling to contain the damage. Insider reports emerged suggesting that several high-profile deals, collaborative projects, and elite social invitations involving Camilla's children and grandchildren were quietly being put on hold or cancelled outright, as corporations desperately tried to avoid the absolute wrath of the future king and queen. The message sent by the entertainment and corporate sectors was chillingly clear. Aligning with the Parker Bowles faction was now seen as a fast track to total institutional exile. The public division continued to fuel intense, emotional arguments across every corner of the internet, turning the royal family's private pain into a massive, global cultural phenomenon. But as the public continued to analyze every leaked detail of Prince Louis's heartbreaking tears and Catherine's icy, unyielding resolve, an even more explosive, terrifying piece of information was quietly developing behind the sealed doors of the palace. A final, devastating twist that would officially solidify William's silent coup and leave the entire world completely breathless. Just as the digital warfare reached a boiling point, and the public split into two immovable camps, a final, catastrophic revelation leaked from the highest tier of British governance, completely redefining the true nature of Prince William's silent coup. For days, the world believed that the eraser mandate was merely an exceptionally harsh internal banishment, a protective father punishing a cruel step-relative to secure his son's emotional well-being. But a highly classified, leaked memorandum from the Privy Council office has just exposed a far more calculating, seismic reality that has left constitutional experts and high-level politicians in a state of absolute panic. The mandate was never just a guest list ban. Prince William's clinical decree included a hidden, legally binding codicil that effectively strips Queen Camilla herself of her ultimate institutional contingency. According to the leaked documents, William utilized a highly obscure, centuries-old clause within the Duchy of Cornwall's autonomous charters to officially restructure the regency and emergency funding protocols of the monarchy. The shocking, hidden clause dictates that in the event of King Charles's absolute incapacitation or abdication, Queen Camilla is permanently barred from exercising any form of institutional oversight, state councillor status, or residual crown authority. Furthermore, her family's access to any future royal trusts, allowances, or estate residencies has been legally dissolved by the future king's hand. This means Prince William did not just banish Camilla's extended family from a balcony. He has systematically, legally, and permanently stripped the current queen consort of her long-term institutional leverage, effectively reducing her status to a ceremonial figurehead with zero structural power. It was an absolute, flawless political decapitation executed under the guise of family protection. When Queen Camilla discovered the true, terrifying scope of the mandate, palace sources report that an absolute screaming match erupted within the king's private apartments. Camilla furiously confronted Charles, demanding that he strip William of his titles, or invoke an emergency act of parliament to nullify the decree. But Charles, physically exhausted and acutely aware that the public's absolute loyalty lies with the Waleses, reportedly refused to sign the paperwork, cementing his own son's absolute victory. The balance of power has not just shifted. The old monarchy has effectively been overthrown from within. The court of Buckingham Palace has been utterly neutralized, leaving the court of Kensington Palace as the undisputed, iron-fisted ruler of the institution's future. The Parker Bowles dynasty has been completely erased from the blueprint of the British crown before King William has even ascended the throne. But if you think this absolute dynastic war has reached its conclusion, you are deeply mistaken. As the dust settles on this historic coup, a chilling new cliffhanger has just emerged from the shadows. Just hours ago, an anonymous, newly created insider account on X posted a cryptic, highly alarming warning that has sent shockwaves through the legal teams of both factions. The post contained an image of an encrypted audio file labeled Balmoral_courtyard_audio_capture, with the text, "The public only knows half the story." The eraser mandate was signed to bury the truth. If Kensington Palace does not walk back the decree by midnight, the full, unedited audio of what was actually said to Prince Louis, and the terrifying, desperate words Catherine used to command William's retaliation, will be leaked to the global press. The crown will burn. The countdown has officially begun. Is this anonymous blackmailer an ally of a furious, vengeful Queen Camilla looking to burn the monarchy down out of pure retaliation? Or is there an even darker, more explosive secret hidden within that Balmoral audio that could completely destroy Prince William's public image forever? The entire global media apparatus is holding its breath as the midnight deadline rapidly approaches. The midnight deadline is ticking down, and the entire future of the British monarchy is hanging by an incredibly thin, highly volatile thread. If that explosive Balmoral courtyard audio actually leaks, it could completely shatter everything we thought we knew about Prince William, Princess Catherine, and the true cost of their silent coup. Now, I want to hear directly from you, the Crown Watch community. Did Prince William make the absolute right call by ruthlessly executing the eraser mandate to shield young Prince Louis, or did he pull off a dangerous, cold-hearted overreach of power that completely disrespects King Charles and Queen Camilla? Is Camilla about to unleash absolute devastation on the royal family as revenge for her family's total banishment? Drop your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comment section below. This debate is already exploding, and I am reading every single response. If you want to stay completely ahead of the curve and get the absolute instant update the second that midnight deadline lapses, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Don't blink because the next chapter of this royal war is about to drop, and you will not want to miss it.